Good evening, everyone. Your favorite person to spend a Friday night with here, Brian Neubert from goldenblack.com, live in Mackey Arena following Purdue's 72-50 win over the Norse, although I prefer to call them the Nork because it just makes more sense, of Northern Kentucky. Thank you to the Purdue Club Hotel for your support. As always, we appreciate it very much. I will make this quick, which are the famous last words if you're a longtime rap video enthusiast. But I just don't have a whole lot to say. The biggest thing from this game is an unknown. What's going on with Daniel Jacobson? The Purdue freshman center went down a minute into the game with what Matt Painter called after the game a lower leg injury. He will get checked out. He will get a scan presumably on Saturday, and they should know more after that. Obviously, a big piece of the puzzle here. You know, Purdue has invested quite a bit in Daniel Jacobson. He's your starting center right now, and he's one of those players that you want to get him out there now to improve on the fly, to gain experience on the fly. Figuring what happens now benefits him when it matters most at the end of, February, the start of March. In the best case scenario, the start of April. But we don't know what his deal is. We'll find out here in the next couple of days, presumably. But obviously not what you wanted to see in Game 2 of the kid's college career, because he can be really good. And this is, something that you wanted him to get experience now. I think I said that before, but you want him to get experience now to make him better later. And, this time of year translates to what comes later. I always said about Jaden Ivey, and this does not apply to Daniel Jacobson. I'm just using this anecdotally to make a point. When Jaden Ivey found that stress fracture or that stress, whatever they called it, in his foot his freshman year in Florida and missed a couple games, I think had that not happened, you would have seen sophomore year Jaden Ivey at the end of his freshman year, and you would not have seen sophomore year Jaden Ivey because he would have gone to the NBA, because I think he's a guy who would have made that sort of jump with that much more experience. But I'm not saying Daniel Jacobson is in that sort of situation. But I'm not saying he's not. I don't know, what he's capable of in the short term. But Purdue wants him out there now, and Purdue needs him out there now, and we'll have to see if they have him. It would be really disappointing for all involved if this is something that sidelines him for a while. That would be jumping to conclusions to think that way at this point. But we'll find out here in the next couple of days. To Will Berg's credit, Berg comes in a minute into the game and is essentially now a starter, and did a good job. He's a really good rebounder. This is true. This is something people said about him, that you kind of had to see it, and I think you're seeing it now. He's got a knack for taking up space in the middle of a bunch of people, going up and getting the ball with two hands. Just a really impactful rebounder who takes up more space and thus maybe creates rebounds for other people probably more effectively at this stage than Daniel Jacobson does. Though Daniel Jacobson's catch radius is obviously much, much higher than Will Berg's. But Berg is getting balls above everyone's head with two hands. And that's not easy to do for guys who are that tall, who aren't maybe as sudden as some other people. Will Berg did a good job catching and finishing. And that's no small compliment, because, sometimes his Braden Smith passes are not necessarily, he's such an elite passer that sometimes the ball just comes out of nowhere. You're not necessarily setting up for it, you're not necessarily expecting it, but there it is anyway. And I think Berg did a good job catching the ball and in a couple instances finishing right away. And that's all you need from him, rebounds and dunks. If you just rebound and make 75% of your dunks and you don't shoot 20% at the free throw line or something like that, you're good. He's got to stay out of foul trouble, obviously. But I think this was a positive step for him. He played well. And I think that, Daniel Jacobson's injury, while unfortunate, did offer up a little bit of an opportunity here for Raleigh Burgess, who really showed why people like him. He missed some layups, but I think that he missed them, as Matt Painter said, because he was gassed. And that's, in a roundabout way, that's a good problem to have, because that means a kid is coming in limited minutes and he is exhausting himself. And that is precisely what you need from these guys. Some of these guys coming off the bench is for them to come in, for them to empty their tanks, for them to be physical, for them to wear themselves out. And if they're wearing themselves out in 12 and a half minutes to the point where they can't make a layup, great, right? Does that make sense? I can't hear what you're saying anyway, so why am I asking questions to a monitor? We haven't seen him make a three yet, but everybody seems to think he can do that. Just very active, really, really moves his feet well on defense. That is a very important part of this. Big men tend to be heavy-footed. That's what happens when you're big. He is big, but he also, you saw him in a couple instances in this game really effectively slide in front of somebody without, ending up falling downstairs or whatever it is and fouling somebody. I think that's really something between the 4 and 5 that, Purdue can utilize and that can help them. And I will take a closer look at some of those possessions tomorrow on our review, or I don't know if I'm going to do tomorrow or Sunday. Anyway, I thought Raleigh Burgess did some really positive things. I think Fletcher Lawyer, is playing at a level that, these are 2 bye game opponents, but these are good bye games. These are really good bye games. This 3-game bye game stretch. Oh, and just to explain real quick, because I saw some discussion about this on our message board. When we say bye game, I'm sure a lot of you know this, but some might not. We mean B-U-Y, like we bought this game. We paid the opponent to come here. Not buy like B-Y-E, like you get an automatic win. These are bye games where you pay the opponent to come. And normally oftentimes those are really, really weak opponents. Those are glass jaw type teams. These are teams that Purdue should be able to beat handily at home, but they are teams that are going to be in the 100s or the high 200s in the net when all is said and done. I was speaking too casually in my last rap video, and I mentioned possibly the Corpus Christi. See, I'm still with Corpus Christi. It will never change. All I can hope is I never have to deal with Texas A&M Corpus Christi again. Anyway, I was speaking too casually, and I said something about Corpus Christi maybe being in the 300s in the net. That's not going to happen. They are a better program than that. They're a better team than that. They're better in their conference than that. This trio of games, Corpus Christi, Nork, and I shouldn't call them Nork. That's probably insulting. Corpus Christi, Northern... Did I say Christi or Crispy? Corpus Christi, Northern Kentucky, and Yale on Monday. These are opponents Purdue should beat handily. But opponents Purdue should beat handily that will be reflected relatively positively, or at least not hurt you when NCAA tournament resume time comes. Yale, somebody told me, is in the top 100, and I guess it would be Ken Palm at this point because there's no net rankings yet. They're a very good program for their level. This is a good schedule Purdue has. This is a good under-the-radar type of schedule Purdue has with some of these bye games, B-U-Y, obviously. But what was I talking about? Purdue's made par so far through 2 games. And part of that is, their best players are playing well. I think of the big 3 in Braden Smith, Trey Kaufman-Wren, and Fletcher Lawyer, all 3 have been really good. I think Fletcher Lawyer has really, really stood out. Again, I know these are overmatched opponents, but not horrible opponents. But he's been really efficient. He's been really smart. His decision-making has been really good. He's done a great job attacking closeouts off the dribble, making things happen, whether it's been to get to the rim for either runners or highly offensive reboundable. There is no way that's a word. misses or assists. He's done a great job feeding the post off the dribble, driving. He's been really efficient from three. I think he's done a good job knowing when to shoot his threes, but also knowing when to attack off the dribble and not, predetermining whether he's going to shoot it or predetermining whether he's going to dribble. I don't know if that makes sense or not. You just kind of know it when you see it. He just hasn't. He's looked very decisive, and it feels like his decisions are always right. They've not been, I'm sure, but it feels like they have been. He's playing really well. 7 to 10 from three in the first two games. A very positive sign in the post-Zach Edey era that, he's still going to be able to get his. Moren is playing very well. I think his passing continues to stand out. His scoring is going to be there all year long. He gets 14 points on 5 shots in this game. Only 1 turnover. That's one of the numbers to watch with him is the turnovers, because he's going to draw crowds and he's going to set screens and he's going to have to make sure that he's being secure with the basketball, not making bad passes or traveling or trucking people when he's trying to back them down. So he's off to a great start for Purdue. Looked pretty good shooting free throws in this game, which is a positive sign. And then Braden Smith is just, has been excellent. I thought, this game got a little closer than people probably would have liked in the first half. But again, decent opponent at home. You're not going to win this game by 50. Nobody's going to beat this team by 50. You look at how close they played Florida State the other day. Florida State's not what it used to be, but it's still a power conference team on their home floor. But Braden Smith really, really led Purdue chopping the head off this zone to start the second half. And I think Purdue did a good job at halftime figuring some things out after their offense had kind of bogged down a little bit in the late in the first half, allowing Nork, again, I shouldn't call them that, to get within a couple of possessions. Purdue really found solutions with that zone. You don't see it very often. Purdue doesn't play against it very often. Obviously hasn't yet this season. I don't think Creighton did anything zone-wise, but I don't remember. And I never got to watch the video back because there was no video. It was on Nebraska Public Television. When I turned it on, the Lawrence Welk show was on, and there was no replay posted. So I never got to rewatch that. But anyway, Braden Smith, portions of this game just diced up that zone and was just... It's a weird take, but it's a take nonetheless. I think Braden Smith's got the best pivot foot in basketball. College basketball, at least, anyway. I asked him about that for the NCAA tournament. He looked at me funny, and I probably would have done the same thing, but he does a really good job driving in. If he gets stuck, it doesn't matter because he unsticks himself with his pivot foot and is able to recreate angles and remanage angles and make post entries and make kick-out passes that get the offense back moving again, and if not, lead directly to assists. And you saw him do that a bunch of times against this zone where he got the ball inside from really weird angles when it looked like you were just basically walking right into the spider web. But he does a great job of figuring it out on the fly. And his basketball IQ is just off the charts, as is Fletcher Lawyer's. And in time, I think this team's collectively will probably be pretty good because of those two guys. And you will see this team get better through the course of the year. It would be great to have Daniel Jacobson for Purdue for the long term every game this season, but right now we'll kind of see about that. But Purdue's done some really good things in 2 imperfect wins, and that's the important part too. Is this time you're getting exposed to some things, and Alabama's coming Friday, and that's a whole other animal. So improvement is kind of non-negotiable at this point. So look, that's what I got. I was going to ramble on and on about Jakari Harris and C.J. Cox becoming fan favorites at some point, but I've got all season long to fill these 15-minute videos. So I'm just going to shut up at this point. And I'm going to thank the Purdue Union Club Hotel one more time for their support, for willing to attach their brand to the nonsense that I spew on these videos after every Purdue basketball game. So we're done here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for reading. Thank you for listening. And thank you for processing our materials, however it is you process our materials. And I will talk to you guys again on Monday following Purdue's meeting with Yale, a school I did not get into out of high school. So thanks, everybody.